So thank you for
welcome.
being willing to do this. And Laura, please start by telling me how you experienced this coaching session.
I think the first thing I'd say is it was timely, and she got me to the place where I needed to be, which was ground me back in the work and what's important to me. As I said in the intro, because I had some time to think, which doesn't often happen, I really was beating myself up, and I needed someone to bring me back up again. And so having her help me focus on what's most important, and I forget the specific question, but it got me to, it's about kids. And if they're not a piece of this, then the rest won't work.
Yeah, the specific question that she asked you was, what do you care most about?
Yeah, and that was easy. That was an easy answer. And it was something that I had gotten lost in all of the negative stuff that I was experiencing. So it brought me back to what I needed to keep giving me that motivation, that will, that passion. There was one place, and I can't remember where it was, there was one point where she asked something, and I remember thinking, oh, I don't want to go there. But I ended up in the right place. So whatever it was, and that's not being terribly helpful for this conversation because can't remember what the what was that got me to the where, but because she stuck with it, it got me to where I needed to be. And I liked the way you had me be specific at the end. So it's like, okay, there's no wiggle room here. You've made a commitment to do this and this. And so that was real helpful. And at the same time was, what can I do to support you? You know, what do you need from me? And that was that check-in. So in a short amount of time, she helped me work through probably 10 hours of agonizing over the weekend and helped me see a light at the end of the tunnel.
So can you remember any other specific questions that were helpful to you?
When she pointed out the obvious, but not so obvious to me, about, you've been talking about the adults, and yet you said the kids are what's important. So kind of reconcile, and that's my word, not hers, but kind of reconcile the difference. That was an aha moment for me with, yeah, I have gone far afield.
Mm-hmm.
So that was helpful.
Anything else? Can you think of anything else that would be helpful for people to know?
I just said I would reinforce again the specificity at the end. She wasn't letting me off the hook. And I think that's important for me to actually change my practice or change my behaviors. That if she made me feel good and gave me a hug at the end, I would have gone away, but nothing would have changed to my practice. And so therefore, a month from now, I'd probably be at the same place.
So you appreciate the emphasis on action.
That's right. And the specificity with the action. It wasn't just do, it was okay and when. And then the support. So it was the support piece that she would offer too.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So, Carrie, how was that for you?
It was okay. I mean, I was really conscious of trying to not over question, and I got to a place where I asked a couple questions right on top of each other, and she pulled me back. So I asked her what she cared the most about, and then I named that she'd been talking about adults, and then I asked her another question, but she really wanted to answer that question, what she cared most about, and I should have just let her answer the question without kept talking, you know. So I think that when a person starts out a coaching session talking about they're ready to kind of walk away, I think it's, you know, there was this part of me that wanted to ask, so what do you really want to do? But I was afraid of the answer. I was afraid that we hadn't gotten far enough to really ask that question, because I thought in that moment what she really wanted to do was to walk away. But at the end, she really was like, you know what, I'm not a quitter, and I'm in it for the kids, and I'm not ready to give up yet. And so when I think about the sort of the arc of the conversation, I'm pleased that she left with having some actionable steps that she was going to take to get herself back on track. And I think that that was what she needed to be able to think, I can do this. Like, so here's some quick wins. Here's some things that I actually can do. Maybe I'm not ready to go.
Okay, so tell me specifically about some of the questions that you asked that were intended to accomplish what you just talked about.
Right. So, I mean, so obviously I think just even the opening question was really just asking her, like, what was the best use of our time? And then asking her about, you know, what she cared about. And asking her, I mean, so it was interesting because she said, I don't even know what strategies to use. And so I thought, okay, well, I'm not going to ask you what possible strategies could you use right now. And I can't remember exactly what I asked her about that, but I really wanted to get to this place of, I think the question was really about as soon as she could say what she cared about, then we were able to sort of talk about, okay, so you care about this. And I think I asked her a question about, so how can you sort of leverage that piece of this thing that you care about and this thing that you're kind of excited about, how can you leverage that to start to address this other area that is clearly causing her concern, which is these fractious relationships with adults. So I don't know if that was, I don't know, you didn't really name it as an important question, but I sort of saw it as this way to, okay, you're feeling kind of good, you're feeling a little bit like, oh yeah, wait, I remember why I got into this. Now maybe I can start to think about how I can use this thing that I'm, like my raison d'etre for moving forward.
And then if I didn't say it, I should have, that I think it was pivotal because it helped me refocus on what was important and get me out of that poor me spiral that I was in.
Right.
You know,
Right. Because I asked you that question around. You said I haven't been able to find the right keys, and I said, well, what are some of the right keys? And you were like, oh, I don't know. I didn't think about that on the weekend. I was in a downward spiral, and I felt the conversation shift. Like, okay, now we're gonna start thinking about what is possible.
More positive. Yeah. I would agree.
So I think those types of questions, like getting her to sort of recognize what she cared about and getting her to sort of think forward and think about what she might be able to do to stay in the game. I think those were, it felt to me, based on our conversation and how we ended, that those were questions that moved the conversation forward.
So, what did you do really well?
I think, what did I do really well? I think something that I did well was help her reconnect with the spirit of why she got into this work. Because I think that's a really easy thing to lose in this work. And so I think I did a good job of helping her reconnect to that spirit and get to that place of greater efficacy. So I think I did that well.
And you implied earlier on that you were explicit earlier on about something that you wish you'd done differently. You know, you talked about the layering of questions.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you wish you'd done differently?
Well, there were probably a couple of dropped balls in there. At the time, I remember feeling like, oh, did I miss something really significant here? And so I don't know if I was listening as carefully as I should have been.
And I didn't feel that. I
Yeah.
didn't feel like, gee, stay with that, because I would have said, let's stay with that. So I didn't feel that.
That's
I
good.
think what I would add to what she did well, and I'm maybe being repetitious here, was that I felt very supported. And I felt like she wasn't going to let me off the hook either. You know, I felt like she was going to make sure we worked this through somehow or other. And she chose the right way to help me work it through, which was focus on what's important in my life.
Yeah,
So
and I think
I did all of that.
I feel like, thank you. I do, but I feel like, I'd be curious to go back and listen and think about, did I need to say as much as I said? And could I have said less? And could I have said less?
Great. Thank you both very much.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
You're welcome.